Welcome to Ordinary Time. Hi, my name is Jessica. If you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and ring the bell to get lots of interesting videos by all sorts of Catholic women YouTubers. There's also links down below with all our information as well. Now, if you were to church during the weekdays this week, you might have noticed that it's ordinary time. You might not. There's been a couple feast days during the week, and for Sundays, there's feast days every Sunday up until the end of this month. But if you noticed that it was ordinary time now, or maybe you didn't and you've just heard that it's ordinary time, you might be like, oh, ordinary time is the worst. Ordinary means boring and plain and average and day to day. And why would they make a whole season where it's just like, all right, there's no major holiday, so we're just kind of putting in filler time? But that's not where ordinary time gets its name. It gets its name, it's the same root as like ordered, or the ordinal numbers, as in first, second, third place, which if you look at a calendar that has the church days on it, it will note that, the next Sunday we don't have a feast day is the 13th Sunday of ordinary time, because we also had ordinary time between Christmas and Lent. Because it gets broke up, they still keep counting, so it's a whole year count versus since, our last holiday. And ordinary time is not meant to be boring, plain, well, we have to fill it in with something and there's only so many, holidays we can make time. No. Ordinary time is that time where you're going through, yes, the day-to-day life of Jesus during the 3 years that he was preaching. The Gospels will go and change instead of being just, all right, this Gospel happens to be the Gospel of the holiday we're celebrating right now, today, to we're going to be talking about Jesus' life, and you'll have, one story one week, and next week, if you read your Gospel ahead of time, you'd notice this is like the next major story in this Gospel. Ordinary time is supposed to be a time where you can go and, instead of having the rush of the holidays where you're kind of overwhelmed with doing the holiday stuff, it's a time for growth and reflection, which is why it has green as its color. Because it's green for two important reasons I've found. First, there's the very practical reason that up until the modern era, most dyes had to be made from things in nature. And if you've ever let a toddler out and they went outside wearing their white outfit they weren't supposed to wear, you'll notice that it's quite easy to dye things green. And the reason why it's quite easy to dye things green is that pretty much any growing plant will give off a certain amount of green color, which is the second and probably more important reason why it is green as the color nowadays, because since they revised the calendar in the 60s, we've all had fake dyes. I know ordinary time had a different name earlier, and I'm not going to say it because if you watch my channel that I actually do besides this channel, you know that I do not speak Latin well. I am horrible at Latin, and this name was in Latin. But, in any case, nowadays, where we're not dyeing it by natural means, green is still the perfect color for ordinary time because it's the color of things that are growing. And that's what ordinary time is for. If you look on the U.S. Bishop's site, it has a little 2 paragraphs for what ordinary time is, with the main point being ordinary is the time during these seasons in which you're supposed to spend your time listening to what Jesus did during his lifetime in the Gospels and growing in holiness. Which is why now the end of ordinary time is the holiday of Christ the King. Hopefully you spent this time in ordinary time when you didn't have to rush out and buy Christmas presents. You didn't have to make sure that you went out 3 weeks in advance and bought 4 dozen eggs, because if you're going to dye eggs, you need them to be older eggs, and you have to find a place in your fridge for them along with all the other stuff. Or it wasn't like during Lent when you're like, I'm going to read the entire Bible in 40 days and eat a single piece of bread with no butter once a day for my meal, and all these other, things, which I'm sure none of us actually did that because that's crazy insane level, but a lot of people's Lenten resolutions are kind of like, I'm going to do all the holy stuff, and then by 2 weeks in, they're like, I cannot do all the holy stuff. I was in no way prepared. Why did I think I could do all the holy stuff? If that was you, this is what this time's for. Ordinary time is like if you were an athlete, the time in which you do practice and training so that you're ready when you actually run the big race. Because if you read a lot of St. Paul, you know that he loves sports metaphors. So therefore, we're going to use the race one. I'm not good at sports, but racing is pretty simple. It doesn't have the complex rules of like football where I'm like, all right, how many yards is it down and what's with the chain and do they spend pretty much the entire time standing around? When's the next set of commercial breaks? But anyway, the important thing is, yes, it's ordinary time. Yes, there's no necessarily big holiday that's going to be happening every Sunday. I mean, we do start out with a few big holidays, but throughout much of the summer, it's kind of like, all right, it's the whateverth week of ordinary time. It's the next numbered week of ordinary time. So remember, ordinary time isn't there just because, well, there's a lot of weeks in the year and there's so much time we could spend talking about Easter or Christmas. Ordinary time is there for you, for me. It is a time of growth. It is a time of reflection. And like all church calendar times, it is a time of prayer.